भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। सरस्वती गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ॐ श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः।
हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। See, the science of life is called Brahma Vidya. The source books for Brahma Vidya are Upanishads. It is called Brahma Vidya because through every Vidya you get some security, some comfort, some happiness, but they are relative. Brahma Vidya, biggest, most glorious. Therefore, it gives you total security, total happiness. Therefore, it's called Brahma Vidya. This Brahma Vidya is taught to us through the Upanishads, the essence of which is Bhagavad Gita. The essence of the Bhagavad Gita is the second chapter. The essence of the second chapter is today's my one talk. So if you cannot come from tomorrow, if you have no possibility of attending future classes, today one class, listen attentively, reflect, try to internalize. Brahma Vidya has two sections, like any science, has theoretical science and applied science. Brahma Vidya also has two sections. One is the Sankhya, logic. The other is yoga, the way to internalize this logic. That's why it says, Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su, Upanishadsu, Brahma Vidyayam, Yoga Shastre, Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade. All our scriptures are in the form of dialogues. This is the only religion where questioning is encouraged for knowledge. In 4th chapter it says, Tad Vidhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya. Continuous questioning and living those ideals, Sevaya. That is how you get this knowledge. And therefore, Brahma Vidya is the subject matter of Upanishad, whose essence is Gita. It is Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su, Upanishadsu, Brahma Vidyayam, Yoga Shastre, Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade, Arjuna Vishada Yoga, we have concluded. You go to a doctor and he sees your scan and says, 4th stage cancer, you would have got a shock, heart attack and died. Doctor saw all other reports, blood count and all that. He says, you have no chance of cancer. How did this come? This scan. Then he asked him to take another scan and he was clear, no cancer at all. The mistake happened when he was coming in train. He took some other person's scan. Likewise, all of us are living by the wrong scan that I am the body, mind, intellect. Their problems, I feel, are my problems. When you think you are the body, you are the mind, you are the intellect, they are finite, they are changing. They are meant to change, they are meant to be finite. And in that, you get lost, like Arjuna. Arjuna, though coming from a family of knowledge, tradition, temporarily he lost his knowledge, and when he saw Bhishma and Drona, felt emotional. He saw the bodies to be real, and therefore he saw death everywhere. This was because of the confusion. Confusion of my identity. There are two I's in me. One, I am, what all of us talk. I am so and so. I am is common. That is existence, consciousness, bliss. That is constant. After that, you add, I am a man, I am a Hindu, I am an Indian. Those things are changing. They are not real. So, when you see things that are changing, that are not real, you only see their finite nature, therefore death. Everywhere you see death, like Arjuna saw. When an enlightened man sees in a whole situation a great opportunity. In the Mahabharata war, some people ask, what is wrong in Arjuna's view that millions are going to die, because that was proved at the end of the war. Only 7-8 people survived. What was wrong with that? War should have been stopped. The answer is, war is an opportunity for all to evolve. God is not partial to Pandavas and Kauravas. When people fight in a battle, their all negative, suppressed emotions come out. They become cleansed and go to the next level of consciousness. Everybody gains. Therefore, war is not a disaster. Same thing with our battle of life. God gives us Gurudev's words, measured quantities of joys and sorrows. You need them like a doctor prescribing a sweet pill, a bitter pill. You can't take the sweet pill and throw away the bitter pill. Whatever God gives in this world are exactly necessary for you to shed off your false identification with the body, mind, intellect, rediscover the Godhood that is you. This is the purpose. So that Arjuna is distressed is because of the false identification, confusion, ignorance. If I need food, hungry, Gita will not solve my hunger. I need to eat food. But if I'm confused, knowledge will solve the problem. Therefore, the problem of Arjuna is not like hunger, is total confusion, false identification, wrong data. Therefore, Krishna wakes him up to his real dimension, the eternal, blissful, conscious existence, which you experience every day night in sleep, where the mind is not there. It is the mind that projects things that are not there, like one ray of light passing through a prism gets split into several colors. The one truth seen through the mind becomes split into the world of plurality, causing insecurity and sorrow. In sleep, the mind is dormant, therefore we are happy. The joy, the purpose is to discover this consciousness behind the mind and transcend the mind is the spiritual undertaking. For this, you need to know about your own real ID. That is got through Shravana. You didn't know was solved by listening, Shravana. You don't understand, solved by reflection, Manana. You don't experience, is solved by Nididhyasana, meditation. These are the three limbs of gaining the right knowledge, removing the false identification. And therefore, Bhagavad Gita, which removes the ignorance and all our problems because of that ignorance, what helps Arjuna to discover the solution, it also helps us to discover the solution. Problem is common for all of us, ignorance. Solution is knowledge. So though it was given to Arjuna for a particular problem, it becomes a universal solution. You see, the problem comes to all, but most of us do not inquire, do not try to analyze. Like Dhritarashtra, he did not analyze. Even when Sanjaya was helping him to analyze, he was blind, born blind. Whereas Arjuna started analyzing the problem, and in the course of the problem, he found, though he is agitated, Krishna is quiet, calm, blissful, smiling. So that made him think there is something beyond what he is talking. So that humility, that open-mindedness makes him, from a despondent Arjuna, a fit student for Vedanta. When the student is ready with the right qualities of discrimination and dispassion, viveka, vairagya, etc., shraddha, humility, the teacher is found immediately, because the whole life is meant for knowledge. At each stage, the knowledge that you get it. When you go to school, you have your teacher there. When you go to business, there are teachers. When you go, so like that, the whole life is meant for that, knowledge. So when you're ready for Brahma Vidya, the teacher appears there instantly. So a fit student is there. When he asks, the right teacher cannot deny the answer. Krishna and Arjuna were pals for more than 80 years. But Arjuna could not discover the teacher in Krishna because the student in Arjuna was not ready. And so when he was ready, he surrenders to him. Shadhimam Tvam Prapannam. Prapannam, I surrender. Shadhi, teach. Why? Dharma Sammuda Chetaha. I am baffled with two dharmas. To fight the war as a Kshatriya, establish dharma, annihilate a dharma is one dharma. Second dharma, should not kill your own teachers and elders of the same family. I am confused between these two dharmas. Always the life is full of these conflicts of dharmas, values. How do you judge something is right or wrong? Sri Rama was accused of killing Vali. not from the front. Sri Rama was accused of sending pregnant Sitamma to left it in the no man's land. But all these things should be seen from the ultimate standpoint. How do you judge something is right or wrong? When that dharma reveals your godhood, is meant for total good, because you are alone there in the entire world as existence. It's meant for all. That is the right dharma. When it is seen, colored by the mind, likes and dislikes, prejudiced, that's not the right dharma. So Chinmaya Mission motto is the definition of right dharma. Maximum happiness to maximum people for maximum time. That's how dharma should be seen. So dharma sammuda chaitaha yat sreyaha. I am so confused. I do not know between good and pleasant. Pleasant thing is full of matter. Good thing is full of spirit. I am confused, Krishna. So you think, decide and teach me what is right. Nishchitam Brudi. You decide and tell me. Then Krishna says, you are talking like a wise man, all logics, giving Dharma Shastra, but behaving like a fool. Why? Because wise men do not lament over lives lost or lives losing because they are not true. No life is ever lost. No life will ever be lost. What you see life lost is change of bodies. In childhood, you had a different body. In youth, the body changes. In old age, it changes. And then at the right time, you need another body. That's what it happens. That's not death. That's nothing to mourn. Changing clothes is not a problem. You need them. God gives you what you need. So therefore, this being the truth, nobody dies, nobody lives, Gurudev says. You are mourning for death is stupid, but you are giving me all Dharma Shastra, quoting Dharma Shastra. Not only that, Bhishma, Drona are not mourning like you because they are jnanis. They are in the same position, but they are not mourning because they know the self-knowledge. Even if you come down to the lower level, they don't have the feelings that you have for them. And all these people have done all crimes as Atatayans. Atatayans are supposed to be people who have done 6 types of crimes. Burning somebody's house, poisoning somebody, robbing somebody's cattle, wealth, women, and all that. These people have done all these. According to Dharma Shastra, even if they have done one, you have to kill them on the spot. They have done all. It's an opportunity to establish Dharma and annihilate adharma. You are mourning. Not only that, we are a combination of matter and spirit. Matter is inert. It cannot die. Spirit is eternal. What dies? Nothing dies. The false pseudo-entity, the ego, that is what undergoes change. So Krishna says, Natvevaham jatunasam. No time there was no time when I was not there. Nor you were not there. Natvam, na ime janadipaha, nor all these things. And not only that, there was no time when I was not there, you were not there, they were not there. There will never be a time when I will not be there, you will not be there, they will not be there. How we are seeing that? He explains what we have already discussed. Like from childhood, you go to youth, there's a different body. Medical science itself says every few years, every cell in the body changes. From youth, old age, another body changes. So when you die, there is a different body. You don't die. And not only that, you, to remember the childhood, the youth and old age, should have been there in childhood, youth and old age, experiencing them, but were the same person, not changing. If you had also changed, memory is not possible because there is a law. The experiencer and the rememberer should be the same. Therefore, these changes you see as a changeless entity, and that is you. You have no death. Oh, okay. Then what about this parting anyway makes us sad? We do have relative joys and sorrows. You can't brush aside that my grieving is completely foolish because parting the near and dear ones is a sorrowful event. Krishna explains why sorrow. Why do you need it? How do you go through it? How do you go beyond it? What is the purpose of sorrow? All this is said in a simple, single sloka. Matra sparshastu kaunteya sitosna sukha dukkadaha agama payino anityaha tam titikshasva bharata. Bharata, reveler in knowledge. Matra sparshastu kaunteya sitosna sukha dukkadaha. When the senses and the mind come in contact with the object, then only you get joys and sorrows. In sleep, the mind and senses do not come in contact with objects. You don't experience joy and sorrow. The joy and sorrow does not belong to you. Neither is really there. It belongs to the mind. You are not the mind. And everybody's joys and sorrows are different under the same situations, because that is just an interpretation of the mind. If an event causes sorrow, somebody close to us died somewhere, you should have become sad. You don't till the information comes. Even when the information comes, unless it is related to you, you don't become sad. Every minute in the whole world, thousands are dying. You don't become sad. You should get the knowledge, it should be related to you. Therefore, the mind should be involved. And you have the choice to lift the mind to the self, to God, the consciousness in you, and detach from these events. You are doing it in every class, detaching the mind. Why don't you do it when you get sorrows? So detach the mind, turn it towards that self, because of which you are experiencing the joys and sorrows. When the mind is turned from joys and sorrows to the one who illumines it, that one being infinite, divine, you experience the bliss. So the very purpose of joys and sorrows become an aid for you to shift your attention from the joys and sorrows to the self in you. So the joys and sorrows are given to you. Through them, discover your own self. That is the purpose. When joys come, you should know there is some happiness. I should get the maximum. So try for Brahmananda. When sorrows come, understand this is life. I want to get rid of it. So make use of joys and sorrows. Detach, attach to the God who makes you conscious of the joys and sorrows. They come and go. They are never steady. Joy comes, it has to leave. Sorrow comes, it has to leave. That you should endure. Nobody can gain anything big if they have no capacity to endure small pinpricks of life. These joys and sorrows are pinpricks of life. When a mother delivers a baby, pain is maximum, but nobody is unhappy because it is the pain, because all nerves are trying to push the baby out of this bondage and liberate. So are our sorrows. Have faith in that cosmic intelligence, the God. Go through the prasada He gives you in form of joys and sorrows. Cheerfully, every time saying thank you. When you're suffering, tell Him thank you. You are attending on me. Without you are attending on me, I won't get them. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. I know this is your prasad. I am not bargaining. I will take it. Remember Him. Kunti did it. And you are the son of Kunti. Bharata, get up from slumber. Endure. And that will give you self-knowledge. Next verse. Yam hina vyadayam gede purusham purushashava samadukha sukham dhiram sumrutattvaya kalpate. One who keeps an equanimous mind in sukha and dukkha. His mind rests in the consciousness which is immortal and becomes fit for immortality and gains immortality. That is the purpose of enduring joys and sorrows. That is the very purpose of joys and sorrows, so that you train your mind to rest on that thing that is sama, that is equal in all, that consciousness, that God principle, and you gain immortality. What is this immortality? Nasato vidyate bhavaha, ma bhavo vidyate sataha, ubhayoho apidrushtonta, anayoho tattvadarshibhi. The truth of this has been seen by seers of truth. What is the truth? That which is experienced, is seen, cannot be unreal. The unreal has no being. The real has no non-being. So if you are seeing the world, it is there. Oh, you are now, just now, changing the whole thing. You say world is unreal. Yes. World is there. It should have been there. That which is not there can never be there. If you say the world is mithya, false, that is because there is existence supporting it. You see your dream. Dream is false, but you cannot dream without the waker's existence and consciousness reflecting in the names and forms. So if you are experiencing anything, there is an element of truth in that. It is never lost. The names and forms were never there. The names and forms were never there. So therefore, whatever is there is eternal. It's explained by Sanskrit sloka. Asti bhati priyam nama rupam. Asti panchakam. There are 5 aspects in each one of us. Asti existence, bhati knowledge, priyam happiness, nama rupa name and form. All of us are a combination of asti bhati priyam nama rupa. Adyatrayam brahma rupam, tatodvayam jagad rupam. The first 3, asti bhati priyam, are the form of God. Tatorupam, the next 2, name and form, Jagat Rupam, that is Jagat which changes. Gold is real. Earring, chain and bangle are not real because they change. But is there anything other than gold in earring, chain and bangle? No. Gold plus a name and form is ornament. Since it's a plus, I say, give me only name and form, I will wear it, you keep the gold. Is it possible? No, because good alone is the name and form. So the word you atti bhati priyam with the nama rupa is the eternal Brahman. You can never be lost. Then what about which is real, which is not real? Because he said we are a combination of the two. What is real in me? What is not real in me? He explains in the 17th and 18th verses. Avinashitu tad vidhi yena sarvamidam tatam vinashamavyayasyasya nakastit kartum arhati. Avinashi, understand, tad. Always God is used as tad, because for us he is far off. Tad vidhi yena, by whom, sarvam, all, this, what you consider the world which is dear to you, this, tatam, pervaded. That which pervades all names and forms, the gold in all ornaments, water in the wave and the bubble and the ocean. That which pervades all is eternal. This basic material of anything, existence, cannot be destroyed by anybody. Then what is not real? He says, Antavanta ime deha nityasya sharinaha anashino prameyasya tatma buddhyasva bharata. These bodies, ime deha, these bodies, antavanta, they have a beginning and an end. Where has a beginning and an end? Water doesn't have a beginning and an end. The wave belongs to the water. The name and form of yours belong to the Sharirinaha, one who is in the Sharira. Sharira, Shiryamanatva, that which decays. Anashinaha, of that indestructible, who is the very essence of the changing. Aprameyasya, one who cannot be measured or compared. Nobody can cause destruction. Therefore, tasma, you just get up and fight. So people say Krishna is a warmonger. He asks Arjuna to fight. That's not the truth. Krishna doesn't care whether the battle is fought or not fought. But the logic Arjuna gives is wrong. So Krishna clears his mind out of confusions, the various logics, and then says, if this is your logic not to fight, I have cleared the doubts. Now get up and fight. Tasmat vidyasva bharata. Yenam veti hantaram yachainam manyate hatam ubhautav na vijanita mayam hantina hanyate. One who thinks I am killing the other, he is killing me. Both are confused because what is killed, what is being killed are all bodies. Nobody can kill the eternal self, the existence. And therefore, both are confused. Because the self cannot be killed or being a killer. And now he gives a description of the self. Na jayate mriyate va kadachit nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuyaha ajo nitya shashvatoyam purana. These are called various arrow marks that self in you. Huh? Hello? There are some arrow marks pointing to the self. They are called pointers. When you go to the end of the road, you see a pointer. This is such and such street. That pointer leads you to the street. But if you stand there, you won't come to your place. It's only a pointer. Similarly, these various pointers point out the self in you. You must be able to go in the direction of the pointers and discover the self in you. So it says, na jayate mriyate va kadachit. This self is neither born nor dies. When you see a whale, it's born and dies. But when you see water in the whale, it's neither born nor dies. What you see makes birth or death. Name and form brings birth and death. The whale, the water is eternal. There is nothing other than water, even in the name and form. Like there is nothing other than gold in earring, chain, and bangle. So, if you see water, there is no birth, there is no death. If you fail to see water, there is birth and death. If you see gold, there is no destruction. If you are carried by a name and form, there is destruction. If you see Sachidananda in you, you are immortal. If you fail to see Sachidananda carried away by name and form, you become immortal. Na jayate mriyate va kadachit na ayam bhutva na bhevita na bhutva na bhuyaha. This coming into existence doesn't become non-existence. Ajaha, unborn. Therefore, nityaha, eternal. What is unborn? It cannot die. It is nityaha, eternal. Shashwataha, permanent. What is eternal? What is permanent? My job is permanent. You yourself are not permanent. How can the job be permanent? It is relative. Eternal is absolute. In the body which is dying, that you is permanent. You are there even when the body dies. Without the body, also you are there eternal. So you are there with the body or without the body eternally. Therefore, two words are used. Relative term, relative way also Shashwataha. The absolute way also Nityaha. Nityaha Shashwataha. Purana, ancient, most ancient, the very origin of time. Birth and death are only in time. The very origin of time is beyond time. There is neither birth nor death. Purana, though old, ever fresh. That's why stories, Purana stories are called Purana. Though the stories are old, their messages are ever fresh. This self, though the oldest, is ever fresh. It doesn't age. When the body is killed, the self is not killed. When the body is killed, self is not killed. Then he explains now with an example the death that we experience. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani krutnati naroparani tatha vihaya jirnan anyani samjati navani dehi. See, now I will experiment. Uday, please see. I will talk without shaking. And as usual, I will rock and talk. See whether the disturbance is in rocking and talking or my stationary. Now I will talk without rocking. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya. Vasamsi, clothes. Jirnani, worn out. Yatha, just as. Vihaya, throwing out. Navani, new ones. Gruknati, picks up. Navani Grupnati Naraha Aparani. This man throws out the worn out clothes, picks up new ones. Tatha Sharira. Similarly, these worn out bodies are cast off. Anyani Samyati Navani picks up new clothes. Therefore, throwing out worn out clothes, picking up new clothes is not a sad thing. Throwing out this worn out body, picking up a new body is not a sad thing. This death and birth is like that. Oh, that is okay. But what about child deaths? They are not worn out clothes. They are not worn out clothes. Child deaths are not worn out clothes. Sir, somebody wears a shirt for 1 year, somebody wears a shirt for 1 month. I was told some queen, once she wears any dress, she won't wear a second time. And every day she changes 7, 8 times. So no dress is worn a second time. Who decides something is worn out or not? The wearer. That child who died as a child or probably even in the womb, that much experience only that child wanted in that womb. It came, it got the experience, grown out of it, and therefore exited. That is the logic. In that case, why do I want a body with crippled, born blind? Sir, you have a disease in you, vasanas. For them to be cleansed off, you need this body. Therefore, according to the past actions that you have done, you are given a blueprint to God as a remedial measure, not a punishment. For you to wake up as a remedial measure, he gives you a crippled body or blind, born blind. It's not a punishment. So these are the questions answered in this. That is, why child death? Why an unpleasant body? So if that is the case, nobody should mourn about death. And now he gives the various logics. How any known methods of destruction cannot destroy the body. Nainam chindanti sastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, nachainam pledayan japaha, nasoshayati marutaha. 5 elements give us birth. The same 5 elements can cause us death. Weapons symbolizing earth, they can cut us. Self cannot be cut by the weapons. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha. Fire cannot destroy the self because the very power to burn is this self. The very power in the fire to burn is this self. Without this power of the self, fire cannot burn. Similarly, weapons. To lift the weapon, the very energy and the very force in the weapon, all of that Satchidananda Brahman. So, you cannot cut it with weapon. You cannot burn it with fire. To cut it, you need space, because when you cut, it has to move. Where is the space where the self is not there? Since the self is all pervading, you cannot cut it. Nainam dahati bhavakaha. Fire can only burn gross things. Fire cannot burn subtler than that which is all pervading self. With gross things, you cannot destroy subtle things. With a knife, you can cut an ice. With a knife, you cannot cut water. Subtle means that which occupies more space. Self occupies all space. Therefore, that self cannot be killed either by weapons or burned by fire. Nainam dahati pavakaha, nachainam kledayantapaha. Water cannot wet it, because to water to enter, there should be porous. Since this is homogeneous, all pervading self, water cannot enter it. Nasoshayati marutaha. Wind cannot dry it. Wind cannot dry it, because for again the wind to dry, there should be something different from the self, and also the wind can only dry if there is water in that. Since there is nothing other than the self, wind also cannot dry. And that he concludes in the next, same logic he concludes. Achedyoyam, it cannot be cut. Adapyoyam, it cannot be burned. Akledyoyam, it cannot be wet. Asosyam, it cannot be dried. Nitya, eternal, Sarvagataha, all pervading. Since it's all pervading, all these means of destruction are not possible. Stanu, stable, Ataloyaha, motionless. Why two words? Stanu, tree is also stable, but can move on the top. Achalaha, mountain is motionless both in the top and the bottom. So you as the self, as absolute, you have no type of motion. Even in the moving body, you are the same, you have no motion. Even in the moving body, you have no motion. Therefore, Achaloyam Sanatana. This is the most ancient, the very origin of time. Therefore, it cannot age, it cannot die. Avyakyoyam achinkyoyam avikaryoyam uchyate tasmadevam viditvainam nanushochitimartasi. Avyakyoyam, it is not manifest. Manifest is that which can be seen by the senses, felt by the mind. With the telescope, you can see everything. But with the telescope, you cannot see the one who sees it. With the consciousness, your eyes can see, but the eyes cannot see the very consciousness. Ears can hear with the consciousness, but ears cannot hear the consciousness. Because the object, these things are gross. The very power behind them is this. Like when you are using a torch light, the child asks how the light comes. You say, because the battery. He says, show me the battery cells. When he takes away the battery cells, there is no light. Similarly, when you want to objectify the subject, the cell, come before the eyes. Who is there to see? Because the seer is come as an object. So the senses cannot perceive it. The mind cannot feel it. Tasmadevam viditva enam na anushochitama. Knowing this self to be unmanifest. Therefore, not this body, mind, intellect. Therefore, not destructible. Subtle, all pervading. You should not weep, Arjuna, for the imagined death of all these people. And now he comes down. You see, he started with the highest logic there, Ashochananvatutvam, where he said, all of us are got 5 aspects and all that. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. God alone is real in all. Jagat, the appearance is imaginary. God alone is real. Hearing, chain and bangle are imaginary. Having said that highest, then it comes down. In case it's not enough for you, known means of destruction, he says. And then he gives the logic. Because it is not perceptible, you cannot cause damage. And now he says, okay, common man believes what he sees. Let us discuss that standpoint also. Atatainam nitya jatam nityam pamanna sevutam tatapitvam mahabahu naivam shochitam arkasi. If you believe that the self is eternally born and eternally dying, tatapi, even then, what is there to be? Because something born is dying and something dead has to be born. Something dead has to be born because that is the eternal law. Childhood dies, youth has to be born. Youth dies, old age has to be born. Old age dies, eternity has to be there. Therefore, eternally, if something is born and dying, wave dies, again wave has to be born. Wave born, wave has to die. What is there to weep in this? This is only unmanifest to manifest is called birth. Manifest to unmanifest is called death. Unmanifest to manifest is called birth. Manifest to unmanifest is called death. Nothing really happens. It's either seen or not seen. And therefore, if you think you see birth and death, they are interchanging. Even then you should not weep. Why? Jatasya dhruva mrityu. One who is born must die. Dhruvam janma bhutasya cha. One who is dead must be born. Tasmad apariharyarthi. Therefore, over what is inevitable, natvam shochitumarpasi. You should not grieve. You should not grieve over the inevitable. Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata avyaktanidhanam atraka paridevana. Beings were unmanifest before, manifest in between, go back to unmanifest. What is there to weep? You came from the home, you worked somewhere, go back to home. You came from eternity to manifest. After manifestation, reach back eternity. What is there to weep? On a tour, you went to a 5-star hotel. After the stay, you come back home. Nothing to weep. As I said, definition, unmanifest to manifest is birth, manifest to unmanifest is death. And therefore, this birth and death are points of view, not real. And hence, there is nothing to weep. What about? So long we have been all thinking that everybody is dying, the whole world is an emissary and all that. You make it so simple. The very problem you seem to dissolve. You are not solving the problem, you are dissolving the problem. How do you make it like this? I thought I'm a miserable fellow. I thought I'm approaching death. You make me feel I'm not, I will never die. I'm neither miserable. And Krishna sees wonder in Arjuna's face. All along I've been thinking like this. Now Krishna says this. There is wonder in his face. At that time, Krishna says, it's not only you, anybody who hears about this knowledge feels like the same. He thinks, before coming to the listening, he is a mortal. Now he is told he is immortal. Earlier he was thinking he is miserable. Now he is discovered he is blissful. So there is wonder. What is wonder? Gurudev defines. Something you see, but you cannot explain, is a wonder. You see, but you cannot explain, is a wonder. If you see and you can explain, it's not a wonder. You experience birth and death everywhere. You experience birth and death everywhere. Now, according to this philosophy, they are not there. What I see, I cannot explain. Therefore, there is wonder. Ascharyavat pashyati kachidenam. This self, when shown, somebody sees it as a wonder, rare. Wonder is rare. You will never say wonder for a negative thing. Wonderful murder. A rare, glorious. Ascharyavat pashyati kachidenam. When somebody speaks about this, he speaks it as a wonder. He's excited. He's elated. The one who listens about this, listens it as a wonder. There is another wonder of wonders. Even after listening, he doesn't understand. Some people, even after listening, they do not understand. Thank you all. If there are disturbances, we try to do our best. Next week, the last solution, I'll try to borrow a laptop and try to do on that. And after that also disturbances, I cannot help it. You ask me to close the class, I can close the class without regrets.